and there ain't enough of them there. There's just ain't enough of them to go around. They can do some very bad damage. But in tit for tat, we can make a whole lot of them disappear, and they know it. That's why the whole idea they got to go after the guns.
There you go, Mark. We are back up. Should be up on YouTube as well.
And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now,
also, Mark.
Go ahead.
Also, Mark, during the first Gulf War, we had Canadian troops guarding the Sioux Locks too.
Which again wasn't just there, but we had foreign troops on American soil we had no business having anywhere.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying they're guarding the Sioux Locks because
right.
That's pretty. If that was to get hit, Michigan and all of them would be gone. Michigan would be islands. But there are, and also if you remember a few, like in the mid-90s, the Russian troops that was trying to go through the backwoods of the UP got caught trespassing, and the Chippewa County Sheriff's Department said that, and the state police said, well, there's no Russian troops here. And one of the guys goes, okay, so if I shoot him and bring your dead body, then the troops, then they got back to, well, that we'll go, either the sheriff or the state goes, well, we'll take care of it then. So yeah, they've been around. I mean, the UP is a vital thing for the United States. I mean, there's a lot of minerals and stuff up there.
There we go. Got noise in the background. I'm going to make sure it wasn't up when we came back up on the air. Well, I'll tell you what, let me finish. I'm going to finish the track we were on before we had the emergency break that we had to take away from. So I want to finish the timeline, or at least the idea of where the connective tissue is with all the stuff that's going on right now. But I qualified it. First of all, why did I bring up the cops with the Canadian cops on American soil? Well, again, this is an example of the several different tiers of, again, MJTF and JTF global operations against America. Now, you might recall, as I said, over the last couple of years here, we've covered Northern Strike, the Northern Strike FTXs, training exercises, multinational. Used to be they'd claim they weren't going on at all. That's just crazy conspiracy theory. That's crazy patriot mythology. But you can go to YouTube and watch the videos about the crazy patriot mythology. And it's not crazy, and in fact, we were 100% absolutely right. I would also point out that you'll note the number of years that the activity has been taking place. First, with absolute denial. Now they figure they've got everybody idiot stick enough in the military they'll be able to get away with whatever's coming next, with what, not whatever, but what is coming next. So, here's the thing. Last year, you might recall, there were 3 different articles that were easily sourced. Might still be able to find them if you do a Google search. And also a series of videos, not in the bottom of the state of Michigan, but generated for consumption in the Upper Peninsula, kind of what Tom was just talking about, and in the upper part of Michigan, but it didn't reach the bottom of the state, having to do with, for instance, a special announcement about the commander of Canadian forces. Now, this is a general signing a specific declaratory agreement with the state of Michigan. Now, let's back up here. Is that general, what's his authority? What part of the diplomatic process is he? Can you explain that one to me? And as I pointed out at the time, what would they be signing? What special agreements would a military officer be signing? In any capacity. His ass has no business, his signature has no business, but for that matter, our politicians at any level, especially the pigs in the bureaucracy who really are, again, ban the bureaucracy, we know what needs to happen. These characters have no authority to work with each other. Does everybody understand that? Well, now, understand, as I pointed out at the time, that what this had to do with was bringing foreign forces onto American soil. Now, one watershed, one corner allows you to block what's going around the other corner, which allows you to block what's going around the other corner. You have the special dispensation awards going on with Canadian enforcement arms. In addition to that, you have a separate military declaratory agreement with a military staff officer as a command element operating inside the United States. Now, you also have this other piece of conductive material with Trudeau authorizing Chinese forces to be brought in on the ground, which they already are to a degree. How many and what quantity, that's the part that everybody needs to get more information on. I think it's behind the curve. It's just that they're making public what they've already been doing for a very long time, and to what degree and what quantity will vary depending upon what period of agreement, what economic benefits there are, et cetera, when it comes to how far the can heads will sell out their fellow Canadians, and how far the American whores here and prostitutes will follow the orders of the Israelis and the communist Chinese that are running them. See how that works? Now, again, we already have this interdeclaratory agreement for them to bring these characters across, the can heads, but now you have a second connective military force operating on Canadian soil that now has a technical/administrative piece of paperwork that allows them to be moved with the Canadians onto American soil. They're an attachment. The Canadians have already made them an attachment to the infrastructure of the Canadian system. Now, I have no problem killing Chinese or can heads in a heartbeat, and any asshat who cooperates with Canadians and Chinese forces in the United States needs their ass shot too. So, guess what? I'm going to tell you who I'm going to shoot first. Ain't going to be the Chinese, and ain't going to be the can heads. It's whoever's standing next to them that's in an American uniform who knows better, because that one can hide. The Canadians and the Chinese, they can't hide. Everybody understand that? Everybody always asks me, what will be the pecking order? Real quick, you see those Chinese troops there? Yeah. See those guys that look like they're American? Yep. Shoot all of them. Why? Well, because the ones that are in the American uniforms that are betraying and helping and working as Kit Carson scouts for communist Chinese forces on North American soil, well, those asshats can disappear. But those Chinese troops, not so much. Everybody understand that? It's kind of like when you see a gun confiscation unit on the ground. Guess which ones? The locals aren't getting away, but those other ones might run far enough, find another place to hide. So whatever else has got some strange letters on it, those are the ones you plug first and you plug hardest, so they don't get away. Farthest one out first. That way, it's the Sergeant York syndrome. Remember, we've already had designated riflemen. What's your job? Farthest out first. That way the ones up front still feel pumped up and think they've got support. Take out their, again, the support weapons / snipers / marksmen. Take out their indirect fire. Take out their command personnel. That's the priority of most of your heavy rifle section. The rest are designed to keep the pennywits busy up front until they finally realize they're all by themselves. And by then it's too late. So, again, this thing is in motion. We're going to be betrayed. The Democrat and Republican rats are both in on this, and they're just as much. We eat neither one. They're both just two stinking piles of feces with the same agenda. They're just trying to figure out who's going to piss on your back and tell you it's raining. That's what the argument is amongst the orcs, is who's going to lord over the North Americans / the Americans. And they keep telling you that they hate you white people. So for all you white people that they hate, I suggest you double up. You better make sure you've got everything squared away. You better have every weapon ready at your disposal, because that's, again, what you're going to be facing are the orcs from Mordor who think they're going to get away with it. You're going to get caught flat-footed. That ain't going to happen. Now, otherwise, I'm going to go back to this thing with the imagery. Who, what, where, when, what were they doing, what were you doing? Now, the what were you doing part, because everybody goes, oh, you're trying to spy on. No, idiot. Nobody's trying to spy on anybody. Here's how it works. How were you observing? There's always some dimwit when I do this, I'm sure sitting next to you goes, oh, he's trying to find out, they're trying to spy. I don't want to know anything about you. Seriously, you want to bring up information? Fantastic. But I want to know, how were you observing? Were you driving down a car 70 miles an hour in the opposite direction? You kind of got a video, but it's fuzzy. Were you driving down the road in a pickup truck on a dirt road, and you kind of threw your camera up there, your phone, real quick, and got what limited images you could, but you didn't get any more? etc. Okay, what were you doing? Driving down the road parallel with the formation in a pickup truck traveling at approximately 25 miles an hour. See how that works? That's all you need to get. Well, I don't need your license plate. I don't want to know any. I don't want your driver's license number. Don't want your fingerprints. That's the government. That's the government or anybody else who's screwing with you. Okay. But we do need orientation with regard to observation. That's part of the intelligence process. We can also judge it to a degree. Well, I was doing 70 miles an hour and I got this blurry picture because it rolled the other direction, which, well, you figured out 70 this way, 70 that way. You snap the picture. Pretty good for a digital wish. Okay?
Hey, Mark, don't you teach your people salute?
No, actually, who, what, where? It's the old reporter. It's where the basic rule? It's Gallagher.
No, I don't know. I mean, you're always
I know
militia.
the salute order. I know, but
yeah.
People, who, what, where, when. The W is easier for the average person to remember. A salute report would be for a military. Hold on. Yeah. A salute report would is appropriate, but the thing is that most people have a difficult time. Whereas the W is kind of like the P principle.
I don't think you give them enough credit.
They can do just fine.
Yeah.
Again, who, what, where, when. What were they doing? What were you doing? That's the basic rule. W's. Again, kiss, keep it simple, stupid. Right? Well, again, salute, same thing. Oh, anyway, the big thing about this is, here's how it works. I'll be happy if you do this. Picture, license plates, numbers, slow down, get a better picture, get lots of pictures. One rule, okay, here's another one. Are you going to run a pixel juice on your phone nowadays? Back in the day when we used 35 millimeter, we kind of had a problem because, I only had 35 shots maybe, and if I was lucky, I rolled a few extra of my own. But otherwise, with electronics, keep slapping pictures. Why not? In fact, if you do stills, how many still pictures can you store in your camera? It's thousands. In fact, typically, 5,000, 6,000? You got a memory card on board. But here's another reason I would say if you're a patriot and you're listening right now, why are you not carrying a camera? I mean, a camera. I have a box behind me. No, a bag. I switched them over to a bag. I have 5 different, 3 of them are the same, but 5 different digital cameras. Every last one of them works. They're older. They're I would say, 2nd, 3rd generation digital cameras. A couple of them are Kodaks. And you know what? They take pictures like there's no tomorrow. And they were free. I got a whole box full of them for free. I've got another one with a megabutt telephoto lens. I haven't even opened the thing yet, really gone into it hard. But it's a digital camera. It's not cutting edge now, but it has an affixed long range digital camera with long range photo lens, telescopic lens, and again free. Guess what? Batteries go in it. I know it works. It powers up, even has an image. There's something on there in the way of memory, and it takes little memory sticks, takes the older ones, little bulkier, bigger ones. Not bulky, but by today's standards, you would consider them bulky. And it was free. And you can go out and buy discs for it for, 4 for, I think, $3.75 in the markdown bins right now over at most of the stores because they're on the end caps trying to get rid of them. They're in the knockdown recycle. So for everybody out there, again, if you get a chance, take the time, slow down, and put together what you can in the way of a image photo overlay, boom, 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 video, still, whatever you can. Any one single still shot would have gotten everything that we needed. A face shot head on would have been great. And that's where I have a problem with this. Again, guys, it doesn't cost you anything. Most everybody, again, for our friends, who, what, where, when, what were you doing? What were they doing? What were you doing? W. It's just like prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. With salute, which is size, activity, location, unit or uniform, time, and equipment, military application that works. Most people have a problem with it. Okay. And that's one of the things that I don't know. It's like I said, W, who, what, where, when. What were they doing? What were you doing? The last is purely for orientation of observation. The big thing here again with imagery, if you're going to take photos, if you do have other parties, let me point this out. If you, and I know this guy, maybe this guy just turned a corner and, oh my God, look at all the Chinese. On the other hand, maybe he did have an idea where they were. Maybe this is a routine, and maybe if he's not trying to draw attention, you don't need to tell me anything about you. But what I do need to know is the exact location. Where were you in the world on the map? So one of the things that, as a separate element of this that needs to be done is, again, first of all, where in the globe? Take them, do a globe picture with you can find these actually with orientation maps that are digital, by the way. You can change them as needed, or you can zoom as needed. But you want one with globe and an outline of British Columbia. Then you want British Columbia, in other words, next frame, British Columbia, and an orientation, with a star where the location is, so that, people can see where in British Columbia is this. Then you go to the local, whatever it is, township, county map, whichever one makes sense for the road grid, and you have a star with location, and then you do a zoom up with both a still. Now, here's what's really cool. You can do this all off your computer. Let your fingers do the walking through the internet pages. You can do a very, very, very quick mapping system and then go to Google like that and do both a satellite image from above and a RoadNet image from above, can't you? So everything I just proposed is all stuff you can do off the shelf in about 5-10 minutes, depending on how much time you got to spend and whether or not you type well, right? But the most important thing is, where on the map are you? And it's step by step by step, not a nebulous, so where in British Columbia? No. I want to know where exactly was this road. And because there's a reason for that. We've tracked down communication sites, underground complexes, old underground complexes that have been resuscitated, et cetera, et cetera. So if these Chinese troops are on the ground, and it's argued that actually they're using a park for one compound or as a compound for one group, we need the rest of the information, again, that would follow up to orient this road march that was taking place. We can then probably track down, because now we have an area to look, where we can look for the parties and try to confirm on the ground where they are. Maybe we won't be, but whoever's in Canada could. And a lot of other people would take interest. And when you focus a light on these cockroaches, they have a tendency to start scattering. Most important is that was a road march, foot. Now, there might be here's the other thing. There could be a deuce and a half or a couple of deuce and a halves. There could be whatever the can heads are using there, the equivalent. Could be a column of POVs for all you know. Could be a column of SUVs. Could be a whole bunch of Suburbans they use to move a group that size. Well, it'd be nice to find. They had to be going somewhere. They had to come from maybe even the same location, and they're going to reboot back to wherever they came from. So with patience, there shouldn't be any doubt about where they are and where they're going and where they end up, be it a rendezvous with vehicles or back to a base or activity area of operation, where there might be still, again, a compound or a temporary bivouac and transportation. So who, what, where, when? What were they doing? What were you doing? If you're going to use salute, which is size, activity, location, unit, and uniform, time, and equipment, use it. Actually, use both, please. In fact, we've actually gone to the point where we have another more extensive PBN report that we've used for years, which is basically the W system, because it's easier for everybody to orient to. And that's something that we haven't really popped up in a while, but I think it's still on our page on Libertytreeradio. I'll have to double check to see what we've got, what's on the page right now, to see if it's still there. If not, remember, we do have the eComCon packets that were sent out. Some of you still have them. All you do is follow those instructions, and if you're going to make a radio report, for instance, even on the program, utilize the eComCon form, / report system that's in that 3-ring binder. That is still the most reliable way to go, okay? Otherwise, again, let's see, what else was there about that? Well, I already discussed, and I pointed out earlier, the format, what we think step by step. My personal attitude, what I think step by step, how they're going to wheedle the Chinese in now. Pretty obvious. We already have can heads inside Michigan in several different locations militarily, and they've pre-deployed a number of sites. How much equipment? Well, we've got some work that was done this weekend with regard to specific locations, and we're doing what we can to, again, evaluate. First, we got to get it all together, and then we'll just shine more light on the cockroaches by, again, location, which is something that we have, it's very easily dealt with. Let's see, next on the list of things to do. Got that out of the way. So everybody, if you're looking or wondering about it, yes, we saw the videos. If you haven't seen them, take the time, plug them in. Also, and forgive me, this might make some noise when I switch. I got to turn the computer on, and the computer's not on. Hold on here. Go over to, again, Guns and Gadgets on YouTube. I've mentioned this several times. Basically, it's an I told you so, but it's not a surprise. It appears that almost as quickly as Donald Trump did the bump stock ban, and all of the idiot sticks said, well, I don't care about that. I don't have a bump stock. But you do have an AR-15 pistol. Well, yeah, but I went through the FFL dealer and I got it and I'm special, and they gave me a pat on the head and a squeeze on the ass, and they said, you're special. Yeah, you are. Right now, it turns out that almost as quickly as Trump signed that off, the bat faggots were in motion, as I said they were. I told you this when it happened. Now, it's as the onion is being peeled back with regard to timeline, it turns out that just about as quickly as they realized idiot stick either intent. Well, I know he knew what he was doing. The anti-gunners that are Trump's organization knew exactly what they were doing. It was not an accident. It did not happen by happenstance. It was planned. Okay. Why? Because everybody knows just how scurrilous all these rats are, and they always do the denial thing. Oh, I didn't know the bat faggots were doing that. Oh, I would never have let them do that, but they did do it, and, well, I know they killed some people, and a bunch of people are dead, but, well, what can we do? Oh, well, too late. You see how that works with this BS? They count on this, and okay, well, my master came up with some BS story to give to us, and I'm willing to suck his hind end on that one to may feel good, like they did with Trump with the bump stock thing, because that's exactly where we end up with what? Oh, well, it turns out that all you guys, I think it's about 4 million of you, that have papered AR-15 pistols, whatever knockoff name brand you want, who cares? The Honey Badger, that Q Honey Badger model, those are the only people that were honest. All the other people, including, I think Colt even makes one. Come on, anybody and everybody who makes an AR-15 pistol that was sold over the counter, put together a factory, sold over the counter, all got the same basic information the same time that Q got their information with for their pistol, the Honey Badger. And it turns out that they all did, but none of them told their owners. Only Q did. But even then, Q didn't tell everybody until way after they were first approached. Way after. And even then, it was only because there was a cease and desist, but, the bat faggots didn't want them to tell anybody. So that way they could catch you flat-footed. Now, prior proper planning. Let's also remember best laid plans of rats and rodents. Here's what they did. They actually have changed the paperwork. Remember, we had all this expedited e-paperwork that was simplified? Well, it was. And that's the enticement. I told everybody, guys, do you all see the stupefaction of this? Well, oh no, it's going to be wonderful. It'll be so much easier. And blah, blah, blah. Well, turns out, and again, go watch the video over at Guns and Gadgets. It turns out that all these people who have these now NFA rifles that, well, hell, since I got an NFA, I got a pistol, and now they're telling me they changed it. Why don't I just have it registered as an NFA short rifle? Well, go watch the video and find out what they did. Because it turns out, you see, they were prepped and already setting the inability to effectively move to do that in any timely fashion before they went then to the gun dealers and the manufacturers and did the attack on the actual weapons. They knew exactly what they were doing. They're making business for themselves, and they're whores in the prostituter side. That's what they're doing. And the plan is to confiscate guns, not to let you repaper them in another direction. The idea is to terrorize gun owners. That's what they're doing. And yes, we have seen, I told you before, this is 1977 all over again. And lo and behold, it's exactly what it was. Oh, no, they're not doing that. In fact, the basic information that everybody's getting right now is the bat faggot management is pissed because the big plan was already in motion and nobody was supposed to find out about it. But now everybody is, and now they're really pissed at the manufacturers and et cetera, because, well, it's messing with their big plan. Well, what was their big plan? To persecute gun owners. That was their, and is, and always has been, their big plan. This is Donald Trump's ATF, and if idiot stick Donald Trump, that whiz, hadn't signed off and done the arbitrary and capricious, illegal and illegitimate action that he did, then guess what? The bat faggots wouldn't be able to move forward the way they had. They'd be stuck in neutral. So Donald Trump has done exactly what he was supposed to do, per his orders from the Israelis and the Chinese, to quietly and progressively burn down the Library of Congress. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. You know what I mean by that, right? In other words, go after the guns. If the Democrats propose to confiscate all the guns in America tomorrow, the only difference between the Democrats and the Republicans is that the Republicans would propose to phase it in over a 5-day period. There's the difference between the two. Oh, I'm sorry, Library of Congress being burned down. Same difference. You get my drift? It's an old joke, by the way. If the Democrats propose to burn down the Library of Congress in a day, tomorrow, the Republicans would propose to, would protest and would propose to burn it down over a 5-day period, but they'd still burn it down. Two sides of the same coin. We're at the top. We're going to hear the music. We are right now. God bless the Republic. Death of the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're in the march. We're going to take a break here for a minute, and we will be back. Again, guns and gadgets. Go back through the last 5 or 6 videos, starting, of course, well, whenever you want to, be quite honest. Give everybody a thumbs up, subscribe, etc. over at Guns and Gadgets. Support that network. We're going to get out of here for a moment, take a break. We'll be right back. Second hour of the Intel Report coming up. It is Monday.
Shine on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the Piper boys, we were born forever free. Let's go pay the Piper boys beneath the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys. Always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys. Fight for the Liberty tree.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MainMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MainMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MainMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you to always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. Pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now, as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
Painting and tactifying whatever I could today while we still have weather and warm enough to do it. In fact, still don't got the paint off the hands here. It's going to have pretty good going into the field, the colors I got right now. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Corky. one day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, Southwest, East, Northeast, and Central, along with South. Ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, live stream, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and UltraNet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies, east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in Lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying 2 states, the territories, and the clock. And for everybody out there, it is 6:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Monday. It is the 26th of October. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. 2020, Old Earth calendar, 2020 year of conflict, year of betrayal, battle for the Republic, dance of swords, and being the 26th, and it's Monday.
We're getting closer to that election date, and boy, don't your elections feel safe today.
I already voted 6 times. I can do it again.
Dad,
9 or 10.
From coast to coast today, if you, and it depends on where you are, which one they're talking about the most. The one they're talking about the most seems to be this one in Baldwin Park, where the early ballot box was burned by a Molotov cocktail thrown into it. You've got
No way!
In Michigan, where quote unquote Trump supporters burnt ballots on the steps of the Capitol. You've got ballot burning in, let's see, California, Arkansas, Mississippi, Nebraska, and you go right across. Oh, but remember the FBI, voting this way is perfectly safe. Nothing's going to happen to your vote. It'll still be counted. There is no voter fraud. Boy, this is just out and outright, going around burning stuff. Doesn't your vote feel sacred and secure as it?
Well, not only that, but I would point
Antifa or the whichever version of the propaganda you want to go with. I mean, in some cases, they're the one black guy they're saying was Antifa. A couple of the other stories are just saying he was an anarchist. Yeah. Terrible, but yeah, it's perfectly safe to vote that way. Your vote will be counted.
Well, and again, or not at all, or counted randomly in a wastebasket somewhere. Well, to count it, it's like, oh, that's one we don't want. Oh, throw that in the trash. Oh, that's one we don't. Oh, we want 3 of these. That's one of the other problems that I have in general with this is, again, they could even burn ballots on the state capitol steps because the guys, well, like I said, I got 7 or 8 of them. I've lost count. I mean, as it is, I know I probably got more in the mail. We got some other stuff yesterday. It's like, piss on that. I could burn 6 of them and still technically vote the way I actually should, but I guarantee that these asshats are not voting the way they should. I guarantee that they are what? Oh, that's right. All of them are getting filled out and sent in. And that means that all of these other characters, counting them, have like this brain lapse, and they just count them anyway.
Hey, Mark.
Just how it works. Go ahead, caller. Jump in there. Who do we have?
Yeah, Phyllis. Just a little side note while you're talking about elections and everything. Have you seen the idea that Trump is giving out these coins, the Caesar coins that I'm calling them, to all the residents of the United States?
I have not seen them, but where are they? Go ahead. Is there a location where somebody's actually showing one, or what do they got?
It was either in a newspaper either on the internet or in the newspaper. I think it was on the internet site. And what it was actually his face is on one side, and I don't remember what's on the other side. And all you have to do is just say that you're a United States resident, and you can actually get one of these. Well, if you're a resident, then you don't have any Bill of Rights, Constitution. You have no rights at all. Because you're a resident, you're not a citizen.
Well, okay, you know what's funny, though? Okay, well, where's the source? Okay, do we know who's providing them?
I think he is.
He may be here. I mean, because I'm going to point something out. You know what that is? Let's think back to when Ron Paul was running for president. Let's think back to why a certain independent currency manufacturer was attacked. What changed that company's, Fedward, what changed all of their interest, the Fed's interest in them? All of a sudden, they had all those Ron Paul coins there, remember?
Yeah.
And it was those were privately done. There could be somebody privately generating these. I mean, it could be Trump. But my point is, it's one of those things that is a good idea. I know that. I'm telling you, that's why everybody goes, no, it's because they were an alternate currency. Guys have been an alternate currency for, a decade and a half. The only thing that changed when they zeroed in on that coin group, that currency group, is when all of a sudden, God knows, I don't know what the actual value is now in those coins, but the Fed came in and stole all of the silver and copper struck, and I think there were some of the gold there too that were the Ron Paul for president currency, coins, 1 ounce coins. And that, I know exactly what they were thinking. What would you do? I'd have bought as many of those copper ones as I get my hands on, and I'd have been handing them out everywhere. Why? Because it was so stinking memorable that it would etch into your hand. I mean, literally, people would have them in their purse, in their pocket. Hey, look what I got check this out. Look what I got for a tip while I was a waitress today. And or the waitress would be showing other people because somebody else would have one of those Ron Paul coins, and you give them a silver coin. And, I got a copper one. I got one of those. Look at this. Oh, really? Who is that? Ron Paul. Well, that's really cool. You see, it's one of those things. It's tangible. It's it's in your pocket or it's wherever you have it, and it strikes a benchmark in your mind. So I understand why they're doing it, but we did it for Ron Paul the same way. Well, somebody did, but they didn't think. They too centralized, and we've mentioned this a million times, guys. You can't centralize. Can't do that. I mean, well, from our side. From the other side, they don't care. I mean, after all, they're working for each other anyway. Anyway, I'll tell you what, Phyllis, if we could, we need to know where let's see if we can track that down. I would be interested to know who did that.
I will make sure that I get the where, how, when, why.
Yeah, who, what, where, when. Who, what, where, when. Well, you got the W.
You know what I mean.
Okay. Now, for our caller that called earlier, I understand salute. I understand, IMREP. There's all kinds of we have all kinds of acronyms in the military for, collection and reporting, okay?
Right.
But the thing is that W, you might not have gotten in the right order, but you got the general idea.
I never was good with acronyms.
Wingo, wingo, bingy, wingy, wangy, wabongo.
I never could do that. So whenever I was actually out someplace and I had to remember an acronym, I'd have to actually stand there and think of the words and then take. And then
go through it right. And it's like
couldn't do it.
And then try to figure, okay, that's what it means.
Yeah, I could never do the acronyms. It was not something that I could do. And now I find so many acronyms that I don't even know. It's even hard because they're kind of like flipping over each other. So you might have SWAT, it might mean SWAT, it might mean something special for military, then it might have been civilianized or whatever.
Well,
so
actually,
some of these letters, you don't know what they are anymore.
Right, letters mean words, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
You can learn basic Scandinavian/Swedish that way, right? Have you ever done that? Uh-oh. Did we lose Phyllis?
No.
There we go. Okay.
I muted myself.
That's okay. Are you familiar with Swedish? Okay.
Yes,
now work. This is basic phonetic. Okay. L-O-O-R-U. I am okay. Are you okay? S. I am okay. See? Basic Swedish.
Yeah. MR ducks. No MR.
No.
SMR.
SMR.
MR ducks. Sorry.
That's exactly my point. No, anyway, the whole idea here is that, again, with the subject we brought up in the first hour, I'm most critical because this is like the UN, the semi-truck with the UN vehicles on it. Yes, those vehicles were in America, and they were UN marked. But as I pointed out, why would somebody, desperately try to make sure you didn't see the license plate numbers or the side of the truck where the numbers were for the tax stamp so that I could track down who had that truck and who also was hauling that cargo. See, if I'm collecting intelligence, when you see something like that happen, but there's another reason they don't want to show you the license plate. What's the one thing a license plate does, guys? At the very least, what's the one thing that it does? Because if it's on the road, it has to be up to date. It gives you the year, right? Yeah. Because in most states, like here in Michigan, your license plate is only good for 1 year. The license tab that's on the license plate is only good for that year. So if you get a good, clear digital shot of the plate area, the bumper, and the side of a semi-truck, all the numbers I need, tax stamps, ID stamps, manufacturer, even the bearer who actually owns the thing, I can get all that information with only, really 2 or 3 pictures with a digital camera, and this is the digital age. So when I have a fuzzy camera, when I have a shot that's always these weird angles that always excludes areas with information, that's where my first big question mark goes on imagery. It doesn't mean that even that picture wasn't real. The problem is window of activity. When was the picture taken? Yeah, it was a picture taken, but it was from 3 years earlier or 2 years earlier. Doesn't mean that thing isn't happening. But it's a misrepresentation where if we make the effort, there's more than enough of us out there to get a live, present date image of what's going on. But we've got to be unlazy about it. And that's the most common problem. We got to air our hind ends out and get them out in the field where the problem is. Okay? Go ahead before we're going to fire Phil. Go ahead, please. Uh-oh, you muted up again.
In Pennsylvania for a while, they had stopped. Now, I don't know if they've changed this because we're in Ohio now, but in Pennsylvania for quite a while, if you got tags for your car, you did not get a sticker. So
that's been a long time. They did that in a short window, but they can't afford that because it's bad for revenuing. Because people were able to challenge, why was I pulled over? Well, it's for your license plate. Well, my license plate is up to date. Well, I didn't think it was. Yeah, that's the cops. Oh, you didn't think it was. See, that's where they forced, an issue through the court, and they had to backpedal a little bit because, again, it made it more nebulous for enforcement in the field. And what they did, they abused it. It's kind of like the arbitrary and capricious activity with the bat faggots, with the bump stock, now the pistols. Once you give an opening, they'll run with it. So they use that as the excuse for a multitude of stops that were illegitimate, and in that way fishing to try and figure out how they could write a ticket for something else.
That's what happened to me when the one I got stopped that one time. He said your tags are your registration is out of date. No, it's not. I had to pull out the registration because I did it online. Pull it out. Then he started fishing. So. Yeah, what do you want? Absolutely fine.
Yeah, where are you going? None of your business.
Oh, he didn't ask me that.
No, well, down the road. Look at him and go, well, obviously down the road.
Just like when you walk into. I'm sorry, we're really off the subject of anything that's really important, actually. But since we're that far off, just one more thing. You walk into GNC, all right. And the first question they ask you is, what brought you in today? My feet.
Right. Notice I didn't drive.
I didn't bring my bicycle.
And what brought you in today? Oh, an obnoxious bureaucracy that's sucking money out of my wallet. You guys, why? It's real simple. How hard is that to understand? Well, the big thing here again is that a couple things I have talked about over and over again, and I will bring it up, that we need digital cameras in hand, not just the cell phones. And the cell phones are great because you can take an image and shoot it out away from you immediately, which in and of itself is valuable, especially if all of a sudden you get set upon. But it means you have to have the wherewithal to very quickly do just exactly that. I've seen time and again where people say, well, if you take a picture with a cell phone and then they overran the guy because here's the footage and he got the camera back later. Well, that defeats the purpose. Whereas on the other hand, if you set up digital cameras surreptitiously on the vehicle and you don't have your arm stretched out to draw attention where you're holding the stupid little rectangular box they're looking for, then it's least likely that they're going to figure you're actually taking pictures, even though you're basically the Google vehicle. Keep that in mind. If you take a bunch of these, well, here's the cheapest way and easiest way to do it. go get yourself a 4-camera security system, one of the cheapest ones. Amazingly enough, the cameras are not that bad, no worse than your cell phone, by the way. But the neat thing is that you have a center core that allows you to process all 4 feeds simultaneously. Now, you can record everything that's there, and all you do is touch a button, and the camera's recording, like I said, just like the Google car. 1 camera to the front, 1 to the side, 1 to the other side, 1 to the rear. If you want to, you could have a skybird shot with something, too. Put something up on the roof. But again, don't make it too obvious. It's a very simple process to, set the things up. Most people are not attentive anyway, so even if you actually stuck them to the roof of the car, if you did it right, most people, make sure they're symmetrical. That's the big thing. If you make them symmetrical, while the cop eye might catch them, most of the time they're busy eyeballing you and looking at you because they're waiting for that hand to pop up because they figure, oh, you're snooping and pooping. Remember that everybody's conditioned to that cell phone scam. And if the hand doesn't pop up, then it creates confidence. They don't think through the idea that, yeah, you've been taking pictures before you even got into their area of control, and you'll be taking pictures all the way through to when you leave their area of control. And this is, again, you want to really be cool, you can actually hook that 4-camera feed up to the cell phone and use the cell phone as a repeater and commute the digital image completely out of the area to somebody else's system.
Hey, Mark.
See how simple that is? It's not that hard. The complication, there's not even really any great complication with the electronics. Go ahead, jump in there.
It's me again. Anyway, they have a new one. I saw it as a commercial on the internet a few years ago, actually about 3 years ago. Actually, probably longer than that, before we even left Meadville. But anyway, it's this little robot, and the little robot is connected to the front of the car. So the cop never gets out of the car. What he does is he deploys this thing. It comes up, it puts its little head up, and it looks, and you can see the picture of the cop they're not police officers or peace officers, but anyway, you can see the picture of the cop there, and he's talking to you, and then he writes out you put your license or whatever up against this thing, and it takes picture of it and blah blah blah, and then he runs it, and then he sends you, then it prints out a ticket for you, and then it says, "Good afternoon, ma'am, please do not leave the area until the whatever has been recovered and until you're told to go ahead and it's safe to leave." And so then it goes back down, and then it goes back, and it gets clipped back on the front of the patrol car. So they were trying to deploy these, and they were trying to use these. So now whether they've caught on or not, I have no idea. So, and I can't remember the name of the company.
Well, it's the straight into razor. It's the blades. It's the maintenance and operations. The first problem is always the umbilicus for power and supply and motion. Typically what happens is they're never properly maintained. Imagine that vehicle, if that thing's attached underneath the vehicle, it's taking all the road crud. I can picture from the maintenance end already what kind of a nightmare it is. It looks great in a laboratory. It even looks great when you put it and take it out of the showroom and you have somebody, demonstrating it. Where it's not great is when it gets into the field and the thing, has to deal with the real world environment. I mean, think about this. Do you think they'd be using them during the winter? Not very likely.
I think that would be kind of fruitless.
Yeah, it'd be fun to watch, though.
Kind of
it disconnects and it spins on the ice or the snow, and it bellies out on a chunk of ice, and it's like a little, like a bug tortoise. It's impaled itself on something. It's not broken down. It's just those little wheels are spinning, and so then the cop has to get out of the car in a very embarrassing fashion and go rescue the turtle.
There's another one, too, speaking of electronic things, which is way off the subject. But anyway, just recently they've had this thing. They apparently can do these they have a little robot that collects poop and stuff. It collects feces and things in the sewer system. And then what it's supposed to be able to do is it can be deployed down into a manhole, and it takes samples. They evaluate the samples, and then they figure out which houses are around there and everything. And then they figure out who has the COVID-19.
Oh, that's for drugs. Actually, originally that's for drugs. It's like I mentioned before, the military has had both feces and urea sniffers for years that were transported by helicopter. The technology has been used for the longest time. Where it was first deployed was on the where it was first employed regularly was on the DMZ in Korea to identify infiltrators and infiltration from North Korea to South Korea. And the U.S. military aircraft, electronic collections technology, would run the border with these hanging sniffers below the aircraft, and there's monitoring for the ethers from human urine and or human waste, which is commonly identified by a number of specific factors that were all part of a scientific process developed. Now, the ones that you're talking about there are also for them to track down drugs, because either people are flushing drugs or they're flushing whatever. As far as the COVID garbage, that's a crock. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think the whole thing is, well, it is. It's the coronavirus scam, and every mother's uncle has found a way to suck off that government money tit with BS that, in fact, here's the thing. You know what they're probably doing, Phyllis? And for everybody listening, they're probably, what they have is a big government project for the FEMA Homeland Security drug sucking / drug licking sewer dog / robot / turd paddle wagon. And what they did is they've all of a sudden they've got some other money, and it was a federal. It was probably in some slush money with the quote unquote relief scam. I guarantee the money all goes to the Israelis. It's the same scumbag, poop pedal that does the other sniffing for drugs, and what they're doing is double dipping.
Hey, Mark.
They get more money for, they get the same amount or more money because we're protecting the people from the coronavirus by smelling their feces and licking up some piss. And but by the way, it was already doing it, but it's been doing it to track down who's using what drugs. Which, by the way, that's something they were even boasting, years ago they were doing with the sewer system to track down general, like it was just said, first a general area survey, what pipes are coming from where. Then they go out to the district, then they isolate the neighborhood, then they isolate the house because they just need to track so many sewage points, and they got a little paddle pusher that's going through the system that's, taking poop samples and, and licking piss, and that's the boy, bingo, there we go. So it's just another way for them to double dip and, suck more money out of the America's wallet while doing jack squat nothing. And in fact, absolutely nothing, just like the lie about the deaths. I heard another voice. Caller, jump in there, please.
This is Mike from Ohio. Yeah, don't forget that Ceausescu of Romania, one of his big paranoias was that his enemies were analyzing his excrement in order to criticize the state of his health. So he actually had a permanent chemist that followed him everywhere he went, would collect all of his excrement and destroy it with chemicals so nobody could run tests on it.
Well, he was not so much a scientist. He was, in royalty. You know how old that is? The crown has, each one of these crowns used to have a poop analyzer.
The groom of the stool.
Yeah, exactly. And it is a healthy poop. He's safe. I think I see worms. Shh, don't say anything. And there's blood. Oh, God. And, what the hell is that? Just don't ask about what he ate, okay? Oh, my God. Oh, God. And the smell. Oh, the smell. And Ceausescu, it's just the difference is that, after you look at the poop, it's okay. You can look at the poop, but remember, if you tell anybody about the poop, I will have you tortured. I will have you tortured a lot, and you will die horribly. I do not look at the poop, sire. All I do is use the 5-gallon special pail with all of the oxidants in it, and your poop is gone in a heartbeat, and I will never have looked at it, sire. I would never look at your poop, sire. Never, never. I want this job, and I want to live. Go ahead, caller.
I'm afraid that this conversation has gone into the toilet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is what's bizarre. People, when I try to explain to people about, guys, this is why we've told you over and over again. I've trained people for years in this. That's why the e-tool goes with you on your tactical gear. Okay? Yeah, if nothing else, one man in the squad carries, if ideally two, because you got 2 fire teams. But you carry an e-tool so that you can dig a cat hole and you piss in it. Okay? If you have to, go the other direction, guess what? You dig a hole and you aim. And you make sure it's underground. And, even then, I'm going to remind you all, if you didn't get the class, Used to be, because of course CSCN, you can get it in powder, you can get it in pellet, you can get it in obviously pyrotechnic form, grenade form. All forms of CSCN are pyrotechnic. You're supposed to burn them, okay? But you can, with the powder, deploy it, as in smear it on stuff, drop it on stuff. It's a powder. And it's very residual for a good period of time, especially in a dry environment if it's, inside. You can leave CSCN powder all over the place. Well, what we used to do is we take a foot powder. Remember the old military foot powder bottles? You take that, empty out the foot powder, don't throw it away, just put it in another container, or, when you empty out a container, save it. And we would load that with CS powder. And when you're in the field and you take a dump, you dig your cat hole, lift up. You don't dig a hole and leave garbage all over the place, people. That's the idiot stick stuff they do in the movies, so you're stupid and you can be tracked. You take the shovel, you break the sod, you keep the shovel on the sod, and you flip it over out of the way. You aim for the hole you created, and then when you're done taking care of all the other aspects of it, you then sprinkle a little touch, not very much, but a little poof on top of everything with the CS powder. Then you let the piece of sod drop, and then you poof a little more of the CS powder around the score from the shovel. Why did I use the CS powder? Well, because you got possums and all kinds of feral critters out there, and your poop is tasty to them. Okay, nummy. Now you can't count on them finding it above ground, especially if you're being tracked or you're being hunted. And if you're in enemy territory, that's a 100% nonstop all the time. Then you want to make sure that's out of sight, out of mind, but you also don't want the critters rutting it up and digging a hole. So the CSCN is designed, the powder is designed to retard them from the idea that it would be an inspirational experience to dig it up the rest of the way. So that's one of the reasons for carrying a little tube of, little foot powder thing full of CSCN. Today it'd be a little harder because you can't, but you could use capsium oil. Problem, some animals like acid. No, not acid, as in, whoa, man, he's tripping. Again, acidic pepper juice doesn't bother them, even in higher grades. But it still would be an option. What you do is use a spray, but you got to watch that because a lot of it's colored, and color will draw an eye and the mind's attention even subconsciously. So the best choice is, again, still just bury it, get it underground. If you build a compound, let me point something up. If you're building a tack point in the field and you got time to scrounge and look around, you watch for small pieces of PVC pipe or old steel pipe or a chunk of old iron drain pipe, maybe 3-4 inches around. What you do is you dig a hole, find yourself some gravel or debris or whatever you got from a gravel bed, maybe you got a lime road nearby. Go grab yourself a helmet, old steel piss pot worth of gravel. Put that in the bottom of the hole you've dug, about 2 feet would be good, 24 inches. Take the gravel, put that in the bottom. Take your steel pipe, put that in the middle, stand it upright. Okay, about 3-4 feet long. That way, about 2 foot of it's going to be above ground, 2 foot's going to be below ground, and it's going to be in that gravel that you just collected. You might be lucky to find it somewhere. Now, don't make a spoil or a score somewhere to do this. Take the subsoil, put it back in, take the sod, put it around. Remember, always try to make the terrain look as much like it did as when you dug. You don't dig a hole and throw shit all over the place. That's in the movies, and that's what I've even seen people doing in YouTube videos so that you'll do things wrong and you will be shot from the air. Everything can be seen if you let it. Well, hold on. Now, what I just built was a piss tube. Okay? You don't just walk up to a tree and pee. If you got 10 people, and 10 people drink 2 quarts of water a day at least, if everybody starts pissing in all directions around a position that you've got, I'm going to tell you something. At night, I can close my eyes and find you. Do you all understand that? In one day. Give me a couple of days worth of you acting like, cliff ape animals out there. Oh, I'll find you from a half a mile. I can smell you a half a mile downrange. So proper planning prevents piss-poor performance. You designate a latrine area, but you also put piss tubes up wherever you can if you're going to be there for any period of time. And this takes all that wonderful joy juice and puts it underground and out of scent for the most part. Now you can even go one step farther. Some people argue take a can of lime with you, And just like you would do with your dump hole for number 2, you also use a little bit of that lime. Take a little part of a can, a little bit of like a C-ration. Well, you don't have C-ration cans anymore. Like an orange juice can. And about every day, take one little container of lime and dump it down that PVC tube. And what that does is neutralize all of the enzymes, all of the proteins, and all the stuff that makes for all the rotted matter. Even though you're peeing, your pee is obviously waste material. It's part of the organics that are part of your system, and that's why it smells. Okay, in fact, the doctors even tell you, they'll ask you for a certain, are you getting any fragrance or scent or smell, and they use that as part of the evaluation. What might be happening with your organs? Well, no matter what, depending upon how much or how little food and water you have, it's going to become more effervescent. And so you want to neutralize that. And that's why piss tubes, if you have, now think about this, I just said 10 men. Do you know what it's like when you have 120 men, a company in an area? Oh my God.
Hey, Mark.
Go ahead, caller, jump in there.
One of the things too, if you're gonna set up a place where you're gonna have water, if you know that there's a really wet place or there's a stream or something nearby and you're setting up your camp there, make sure that you have your urine area down at least 50 feet or 100 feet away from that area and downstream. So you're actually, when you're taking your water out, you're not getting some of that residue from what you just left out of your body.
Right, cross-contamination. Well, and again, that depends on the area, the terrain. Needless to say, you put it as far away from your water source as possible, but it has to still be within your area of security. One of the guys I served with, 2 of the 3 Purple Hearts he got was for what? It was end of the day travel. They had stopped. They had established their perimeter. The latrine was outside the perimeter. Typically, in a lot of cases, they designate an area just under the area of fire or under area of control. And in both cases, while he was out there just before, the end of the day, he got tagged in the rear end both times while he was out using the latrine. Third time he lost his teeth, lost all his front teeth to another incident. But, it was either one end or the other. And I'll never forget, we had a major, his wife, she goes, gee, Mr. Wakis, I was told that you got shot in the cheeks. Your face looks pretty good. And, of course, the major had to bend over and go, dear, it was the other cheeks. Oh! Yeah, this is the other cheeks. Trust me, he's got a real good. He's got a couple of dimples where they shouldn't be. Trust me. It's one of those things where, again, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. Guys, you've got to be thinking ahead. You have to have people, whoever it is that's going to be managing your team. These are all the not exciting things, like pulling a trigger is real exciting. We got to go to the range and shoot. Personal hygiene is half of what's keeping you alive out there. Now, needless to say, command of the battlefield helps. But people without proper management, whole armies have died for lack of proper personal hygiene, way before they got to the battlefield. In fact, I would point out the Roman Civil War, and in fact, our Civil War wasn't any different. American War for Independence wasn't any different. But if you know the history of the Roman Civil War, a combination of lack of food and, piling up too many people in one place, guess what? That war would have been very different had one side or the other just simply walked away from the area of activity. The other side would have had no food. They would have never been nobody would have made contact. And for lack of fighting, the war would have been lost because if they'd chosen not to make contact. Oh, it would have been expensive. But, a battlefield is expensive anyway in terms of battle axes, broadswords, and, cleaved bodies laying everywhere, stacked like cordwood. On the other hand, if you'd walked away with the army intact, whoever walks away first gets to fresh water, clean environment, and better food. The other army has to suck vapors out of the area. See how that works? Without firing a shot, people. Without firing a shot. So we need to be ready in advance. This is why many of the other elements, like I said, an E-tool, what's the E-tool for? Well, it's for digging holes, or at least we're making a temporary hole. It's also on the list of weapons to have in hand. I don't care what anybody says, the E-tool makes it great. As I mentioned earlier, poor man's battle axe. If you know what to do, in fact, a lot of times, everybody goes, I'm going to use a knife and take out a sentry. An E-tool or a ball peen hammer to the head is a lot quieter and less likely for anybody to be able to do anything about it when it comes to sentry removal. Just think about what that's like.
And that'll just ruin somebody's whole day.
Oh, it's put lights out, that's it. And again, do a little research on how to use the E-tool, what you do to prep it beforehand, because you can make it into a very, very effective, still an entrenching tool, but it is a very effective fighting implement. I prefer the U.S. World War, the end of World War II, but mostly it was more used in Korea and then obviously in Vietnam. The standard U.S. folder with the full-length handle with the pick fixture. If you put that on the 90-degree station for the shovel head with the pick out, you've got a little poor man's battle axe. And if you sharpen one side, it creates you've got a cutting edge on one side. The newer ones, the absolute newest ones, have a little serration. Not critical, don't really. It's nice for doing roots and stuff, but you sharpen it for using it on roots when you didn't have that serrated model. And in addition to that, if you're going to use it on people, it does a good job of cleaving flesh and breaking bone, snapping bone, which is what you're looking at in a brawl. Go ahead, jump in there, caller.
Yeah, you may well know, but a lot of people don't, that the Russian Special Forces are supposedly have whole classes on how to use a shovel, an E-tool of their own model in combat.
Well, yeah, it's been a standard course for a lot of for the services for many years. Whether or not it was taken out of the regular rank and file, I know it has. I'm sure it has. It's gone in and out of vogue is the thing. And of course, I still believe in the hatchet or the tomahawk. I mean, the tomahawk is a useful tool, despite what anybody might think, for the very same reason. And a machete, another tool that's useful. Here's the thing: either you carry all the tools that you choose to and carry an entire complement, or what traditionally you did is one guy, like I said earlier, one man out of a 5-man team is carrying a shovel. One man is carrying an actual pair of wire cutters. One man or more than one man will carry a machete, because you take turns clearing a pathway or clearing an area as you're moving through it, and you only minimally clear what's needed to pass. You don't try to create an expressway. Always remember that. But again, the tools are spread out over the team so that the weight of the tools is spread out. My attitude on this, and this actually gets back into an overlap with something we were talking about earlier. Remember, we're going in heavy because wherever we go, we're literally going to take the area. We are going in to move in to fight. So what we take with us, whatever we take, is all we got. Basically, just to give you an idea, E-tool left rear on your tactical gear. Machete on the backpack over your shoulder on the right-hand side, basically the same location that they used to carry the standard bayonet, where the bayonet station was on the old M1943 backpacks and most of the other packs before that. Fighting knife, left rear, front right if you want. Obviously, people have done where they reversed it and had it up by their throat. You know why they stopped doing that, or why they stopped promoting that? At the time when that was really in vogue to flip the blade and mount it up on the left quadrant, up there up on the shoulder, is about the time we went more and more air mobile. And the problem is air mobile or airborne, having that blade up there and having something strike it and it being pushed through the sheath and shoved into your throat is oh so embarrassing. But because there were enough incidents, it's one of those things where, yes, it is convenient because you take your right hand, you bring it up to your left breast, and the knife handle's right there, provided you've got a really good, secure sheath to put it in, and nothing bumps it or tags it or unsnaps something. Whereas gravity sucks, the good thing is, and if you're carrying it in the rear left station, like on the old, in fact, most people were never taught to do this, and they got this idea from the Germans, hint, hint, hint. If you look at the old M1956/TA56 gear, the E-tool shovel has a set of grommets on it and has a snap-down point. Does everybody know what that's for? Well, when you put your E-tool, if you put your E-tool on your left rear station over your butt cheek, and then you take your standard bayonet, be it a carbine, Garand, or M14 or M16 bayonet, and you put the hanger, the 1910 hanger, through those grommets, and then snap and secure with that cross flap that's there, the sheath. Now you have your fighting tool, your knife, sitting back at a 45-degree angle, so that when you reach back with your hand, it's just as natural as grabbing it off your breast. And what it is you grab it, grip it, disconnect with the thumb, and you bring it forward in what is a back grip formation, so you can sweep. But you're doing it with your left hand, so you still have control of your rifle. Anybody ever notice? The E-tool cover was made a particular way, and the idea came from the Germans. If you look at the German gear and how they set up the different combinations in World War II and World War I, the E-tool had the bayonet mounted. The bayonet was mounted on top of the sheath, mounted on top of the scabbard for the E-tool, depending on which configuration it was. It was a neat idea. I've used it that way and carried it that way. One of the knives, usually I carry the bayonet there because, well, that's what was supposed to be there, and it works. And then my other fighting knife, whatever it is that I want to use, is in another station, typically, again, separate and attached to my person rather than attached to my tactical gear. So even if I take my tactical gear off, I don't lose the knife. I always have weapons with you. In other words, you always have weapons with you. If you, for some reason, and an example, somebody goes, well, you're not supposed to. See, our religiosity is this. I don't ever take that web gear off when I'm in the field. Everybody understand that? You sleep in it. The only thing you do is loosen up the pistol belt. However, if for whatever reason you get into water, for instance, and all of those fine magazines and all that garbage that's in your fanny pack and all the other gear you got attached to that web gear starts to drag your ass down to drowning, you're probably going to dump it. Well, this is the old story. If I have to jettison my backpack and if I have to jettison my combat load, I still have, for instance, a hanger with my pistol on it attached to the thigh and hooked up to my pant belt. And then I still have a fighting knife attached to my belt, but in a low hanger so that it's out of the way of the combat gear. And I still have my pockets full of whatever junk. Hopefully it's not too heavy and doesn't drag me down too, but I don't think it will. I'll be highly motivated. But I might have to dump everything to save my ass. And I'm in Michigan where we have lots and lots of water. Most of you guys are in the same situation. Minnesota, Wisconsin, every state we're in has got water in the, this side of the country. And because of that, you end up with that gear taking you to the bottom. And if you're disoriented, the most important thing first to figure out where the hell you need to go to get up and out. Losing the equipment may be necessary. Now, on that note, I know there's all these things you need to learn. If you anticipate water operations, very common, the recommendation was you take a, not parachute cord, although you can use parachute cord, and you actually make a lanyard so that with about 25 feet worth of tether, you roll it up into the gear. This is a lot of tedious work, isn't it, Mark? Yes, it is. But you roll it up into the gear and you tie it to your belt. Now, the logic is that you're probably not going to be in 25 feet of water, but the point is that you get to air, and then you're able to actually recover your gear if you can get to the edge of the waterway. Chances are, like in Michigan, what you call a creek on the East Coast, we call a river here in Michigan. You get stuck in water like that, 25 feet will get you pretty much towards walking water, walking depth, where you can, your feet can hit the ground, if not pretty quick, but there's spots where you might miscalculate. Well, if you lose the gear, if you have to unarse the gear, you don't lose the equipment. It pays out because you've played it up into the back of, underneath the pouch, and as you drop it, what's going to happen is kind of like a tether cord in a parachute. It's going to play out however far it needs to before it hits the bottom while you're busy, treading, looking for air. So just many little things that are tools of the trade that can be built. You can put them together yourself. The government doesn't make them, but if you put them together and you do it right, you've got a pretty good system of your own. And it's not anything that's standard to the system. It's, developed by experience and a lot of other people's experience. Here's a rule, learn from the mistakes of others. You won't live long enough to make them all yourself. Okay? Basic motto that everybody should be living by. Learn from the mistakes of others. You won't live long enough to make them all yourself. Yeah, well, at least I still have I got my equipment back. Might have lost a rifle even. But you know what? Here's the basic rule on that one. How many of you are in service? You know, there's different religiosity when it comes to weapons. Number one, we've talked about this, that there are two schools, with or without a sling. The big thing right now is 3-point slings. Everybody's got to have a sling. You got to have a sling on everything. You got to have a lanyard on everything. I just mentioned lanyards even on the gear, right? But it runs cyclically depending upon what era you're in, and it goes back and forth. Eventually, someone's going to discover that maybe it'd be good not to have a sling hooked up at all. And there are a couple of reasons and arguments behind that. Your hand should be controlling the weapon, and never do you release the weapon. It's like I said about not taking your web gear off. Two things don't disappear or get separated from you. Your weapon is always in contact with your body. If you rest, if you got to take a dump, your weapon's not laying up against a tree or somewhere else. It's sitting with you. It's on your, sitting there on your leg. It's touching you, so you know exactly where it is. With your web gear, you don't take your web gear off. You don't hang it up somewhere else. You loosen it or you adjust accordingly as needed. If you're going to rest, keep it on, keep it even connected, but situate yourself so that you get support to alleviate the pressure and the weight of the combat load. Okay? So these are all things that you constantly are thinking about. Remember that you're always, whenever you can rest, you rest. But when you do, you have to be ready to be set upon. Here's another basic rule. You only take one boot off. If you're going to take a boot off and you don't even take it off, preferably you just loosen up the laces. Remember, you're trying to allow circulation if you're resting. At least the boot's on. All you have to do is grab it. The newer boots are better still. The old ones were regular eyelets. The new ones are speed lace, which means when you grab each lace and pull, it snugs up the boot right there. Even if you couldn't get the thing laced right away, tied off right away, and I know there's Velcro in the zip boots. You don't have to tell me about those. We already know about that. We've told you about them on the air. But if you're going to do it, it's real quick to pull, and now you can at least move around. You might stumble if you weren't paying attention. You won't be probably looking at your feet. You're probably trying to shoot at somebody or kill back before they kill you. You're trying to killimate them because they're trying to killimate you. But it gives you the ability to move. And again, you're never at the unready. You're always, at some form of readiness. You're prepared to fight. Now, you really don't rest quite the way you do when you're in a safe zone either. But that's another element of the overall process you'll learn. Anyway, ideas. We're hopefully planting seeds because we are going to war. It's not a matter if, it's just a matter when. And we can't let this garbage go on any longer. And by the way, one last thing. You see all those Biden signs that you are seeing? You see all the Biden signs popping up? Go get yourself a notepad. Drive down every street in your community. If it's a small town or out in the boondocks, write down where you see every what we call Looney Tune sign. This is priceless intelligence information. Wherever you see a crazy town Joe Stalin, Lenin / Trotsky, sign, a Biden Harris sign, you better make sure. I don't want to hear later, I don't know who lives there. Oh, I know who lives there. A communist lives there. This is a priceless event in a process, that is now going to take you to open conflict in America. Knowing who's who in the zoo with your frothing at the mouth, backstabbing enemies is probably a good thing, isn't it? So tonight and tomorrow, you need to throw the wife and maybe the older kids in the car, and let's go. In fact, break the kids along. Let's go find Biden signs. Are we going to take them down, Daddy? Oh, no. But everybody gets a notepad, and I'm going to tell you what street it is, and we're going to all figure out what the number for the house is, and then we're going to go find another one, and another one, and another one. But we're going to know where all the communists are that are really crazy town frothing at the mouth. Now, you won't get all of them. In fact, there's a bunch of sly dogs who figure they're manipulating the other idiot sticks, and they're still out there. But the big ones you want to get right now, these are the froth in your mouth, crazy town, get in your face kind of, Antifa, BLM type. You want to know where all of them are. It's just like a BLM sign in a store or a window of a house. Oh, hell yes, I love that. I want to see that. And that person, right off the bat, has a question mark next to their name. And there's the address, who lives there. If you're not doing that, you're not taking advantage of critical intelligence communications before the outbreak of a war. Am I right or am I wrong? You know I'm right. Prior proper planning prevents piss-poor performance. Hunt them harder than they thought they were hunting you. And every aspect of this battlefield needs to be, anything where you can get any kind of advantage, you better be taking advantage of it, okay? Last but not least, real quick, over at, sportsmansguide.com, they have a bunch of different hats that the prices are actually pretty reasonable on. I think I mentioned these on Friday. Nothing fancy, nothing exciting, but useful because the price is right, okay? They've got Czech military surplus M95. It's the darker pattern of the Czech airborne uniform. Two for $6.19. They only have up to size medium, which is about a 58 metric. Chinese military Yushenka hats. These are new, unissued. However, they're not available yet. Their posting stuff's not going to be around until November or December. Forgive me. These are actually a pretty decent cold weather hat for up here in Michigan, and there's a couple of variations on it that are available. But I just noticed that they just tagged that. Before they actually posted it as if they had it in stock. Now it says estimated availability, November 20th. Hell, the election's when? By the 20th, we may not see jack squat. Anyway, there are several other hats that they have, including the Swedish military surplus field cap 4-pack. These are used, but these are in excellent condition. If they're used, I don't know how. They are size large, and it's 4 for $7.19. If you're a woodland unit, you're looking for more woodland stuff. Slovakian military surplus M97 combat caps 4-pack for $7.60. So under $2 a piece, the size medium. They're in the woodland camel. Now this is Slovakia. Remember there used to be Czechoslovakia? Well, you always hear about the Czechs, but you never hear about the Slovaks anymore. Well, this is some Slovakian surplus. It's woodland military, woodland in the U.S. woodland pattern, so it'll blend in well with all the rest of your woodland junk. If that's what you're standardized on, take advantage of the Slovakian, Italian, and French woodland that's out there to supplement your stocks. Anyway, we are at the top here for everybody out there. Organize, arm, equip, and train as militia. Establish a 510 program in your area of operation. Pick a system, stick with it, work it until you are a master of that system and a master of the trade. God bless our republic. Death to the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're in a march. We're going to get out of the way for the moment. We'll be back at 8 o'clock. Meanwhile, Ed taking over. More live LTR coming up. It's Monday. Bye-bye.
This session is no longer being recorded. Goodbye.